Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of how to solve by completing the square. In this video, we are going to talk about how you actually go through each step to solve the problem, to get our answers. So I'm going to have you write down every slide on this video, please. Alright, here we go. This first slide, you guys, is just a step-by-step of how we are going to complete the square. So make sure you get this written down. It's going to be very helpful for the next four examples we're going to do today. First thing, make sure the leading coefficient is 1. So whatever's in front of the x squared should be a 1. If it's not, we need to make it a 1. Move the c to the other side. Complete the square on the left and add to both sides. So that's what we did on that last video. On the last side, we were completing the square. Then we need to solve, and we need to make sure we remember our plus or minus. It's very, very important. All right. Here's our first example of completing the square. First thing we need to check for is if our leading coefficient is 1, and it is, so we're good there. The next thing we're going to do is get rid of this. To get rid of a plus 1, all we have to do is subtract it from both sides. So we're going to get x squared plus 4x plus, this is where the completing the square, so I'm going to leave that line like the last video had, equals negative 1 plus, remember we add it to one side, we have to add it to the other side. Now we're going to complete the square like we did last time. So we're going to take this number right here, we're going to take 4 divided by 2, which equals 2, and we're going to square it, which gives us 4. So the 4 is going to go here and here so that we can complete our square. So now we're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals negative 1 plus 4 is 3. To solve this, we have to write this as a factor. Now, we learned how to do this last one, so this is the one we're going to have x, because this is a plus, we're going to write plus. We're going to use whatever this number is, 2 squared equals 3. From here, we've solved many of these like this. Now we're just going to have to take the square root of both sides. So we get x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. To get x all by itself, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So our answer is x equals, remember we write the negative 2 first, plus or minus the square root of 3. That is our answer, or answers, because there's going to be 2 of them there. Negative 2 plus the square root of 3 and negative 2 minus the square root of 3. All right, example number 1 done. Moving on to example number 2. So start the same way. Leading coefficient is good. Now we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So we're going to get x squared minus 12x plus something equals negative 4 plus the same something. And take this number right here. So we have 12 divided by 2, which is 6. 6 squared is 36. 36 is going here and here. We need to rewrite our problem. So we're going to get x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 32. Now remember, in order for us to solve this, we have to write it in factor form. So we're going to have x something squared. Now here it's negative, so it's going to be x minus, and we're going to use this number right here, 6. This is going to equal 32. We'll solve it the same way we did last time. We're going to take the square root of both sides. X minus 6 equals square root of 32, which we can break down, right? So we can break that into plus or minus square root of 16 and the square root of 2. Break that down again. We're going to get x minus 6 equals plus or minus 4 square roots of 2. To finish it off, all we have to do is add 6 to both sides. Remember, we want to write our 6 first, so it's going to be x equals 6 plus or minus 4 square roots of 2. There we go. Second example all done. Both answers there. Moving on. Here we go. Now, our first step is to make sure our leading coefficient is 1. In this case, it's not. It's 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide absolutely everything by this number right here. So everything's going to be divided by 2. When we do that, we're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 7 equals 0. Now from here, we're just going to solve it like we did before. We're going to move our c to the other side. So minus 7, x squared plus 4x plus, or completing the square that we had to figure out, equals negative 7 plus that same thing. So here we're going to take our 4, divide by 2, which equals 2. 2 squared is 4. So 4 is what's going to complete our square. Rewrite this. So we're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals negative 3. Now remember, this has to be written as a factor in factor form. So we're going to write it as x. This is a plus sign right here. So it's going to be plus, and we use this number right here. 2 squared equals negative 3. Solve this. We're going to take the square root of both sides. But with this one, square root of negative 3, we have to think a little bit on this one, ladies and gentlemen. These cancel. I get x plus 2 equals plus or minus. Remember, we need to break this down. Take out that negative. And I have the square root of 3. Finish this one off. We have to simplify first. So we have x plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of negative 1 is I. Square root of 3. And then last but not least, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Remember, we're going to write that first. So it's going to be x equals negative 2 plus or minus I square roots of 3. All right. There's our 2 answers. This one was imaginary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last example. Same thing. First thing we have to check, is our leading coefficient 1? It is not 1, so we're going to divide everything by whatever number is there. So everything is going to get divided by 4. So I'm going to get x squared plus 2x plus, 1/4. I want to leave it as a fraction, equals 0. Now I have to get my c to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 1/4, subtract 1/4. I'm going to get x squared plus 2x plus something to complete my square equals negative 1/4 plus something to complete my square. Here I have 2, so 2 divided by 2 is just 1. 1 squared is 1, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. When I rewrite this, I get x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 3/4. Now make sure we're leaving in fraction form. Now, we have to change this into factored form. We can factor this now since we've completed the square. We're going to get x. This is a plus, so we're going to have plus. Use whatever we're squaring. 1 squared equals 3/4. From here, we're going to take the square root of both sides. So x plus 1 equals, now remember we can write this as the square root of 3 over the square root of 4. And lucky enough for us, we don't have to go through a lot of things. We can just put x plus 1 equals square root of 3. And square root of 4 is a perfect square, so it's just going to be over 2. Oh my goodness, I forgot my plus and minus. Sorry, you guys. Make sure we get that in there, plus or minus. Finish it off, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So I get x, remember, equals, minus 1 gets written first, plus or minus 3, the square root of 3 over 2. And we are done. Alright, that is all I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful evening, day, and I will see you soon. Bye.